Okay, so the way we'll do this, as you submitted the visuals, I have them, so I could either pull it up, or if you have the bandwidth on your end, you could have the visual pulled up and share your screen. So we
Sure.
can do it either way, depending on kind of how the connectivity is. And so does anybody have an inkling to go first who would like to volunteer, or shall I draw from the hat?
Thank you, Melchiadi.
Melchiad, all right.
Okay.
Is that you?
Can I share my screen?
Yes, so you can share your screen, and if that doesn't work, I have the backups. And so what we'll do when you
Everybody see my screen?
yes, we can see that. So I will tell you when, so you let me know when to start, when you're ready to start, and then I'm going to set the timer here for 5 minutes. So you tell me when you're ready, and then I'll let you know when you have 1 minute left.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm going to present you social research method project proposal. Is about the impact of poverty on Burundian school education, case study of Mugongomanga commune. Main points are introduction, literature review, significance of the study, method, ethical concern, and how they will be addressed. Conclusion. In the introduction, Burundian people live in poverty due to nearly 2 decades of civil war. And out of 10 are under the poverty line. Many combined efforts had been deployed by government and its partner. Economy, basically agriculture for subsistence with informal workforce. 1/4 of the population is adolescent. They have education will play a great role for the country's future. Burundi has a responsibility to emphasize on improving their health and education. Educational system is structured as follows: 6 3 years. Government and non-government organizations deployed many efforts, but still a high level of school non-achievement. Main objective is the research is to explore the relationship between poverty and the fundamental school achievement, and to identify strategy taken by poor people and non-governmental organizations to improve comprehension of the said education. The scope of the study is the locality chosen is Mugongomanga commune. Why I choose the locality is covering the whole country is laborious work, time and resource consuming, and this is my native region. This facilitates the research process. Information about the locality: 111.4 square kilometer, population density 251.3 per square. Cultural and linguistic uniformity is its characteristic. Traditional dance and storytelling dominate the culture. A research question: what is the relationship between poverty and the comprehension of a fundamental school in Mugongomanga commune? What strategy do poor people use to improve the comprehension of the fundamental school education? What strategy by non-governmental organization improved comprehension of fundamental school education? Literature review: the key concept is about poverty and the correlation between poverty and the school achievement. As defined by UN in the report, is about lack of food, malnutrition, ill health, limited access of the education or other basic services. The same report defines the absolute poverty. And poverty has many implications in everyday life. Regarding the objective, relevant literature targeted only correlation between poverty and academic achievement. This had been highlighted as follows. Our literature I visited targeted shows that there is correlation. I give them in my slides. Those literature review I consulted as the reference and significance of the proposed research findings will help decision makers and partners in taking measures favorable to fundamental school comprehension. Burundian adolescents will develop their potential education and skills. Consequently, those young people will contribute in the country's economy. The social research method chosen is participatory action research. PAR is a qualitative method which consists in a cyclical and spiral process, systematizing experience, collectively analyzing and problematizing, reflecting on and choosing action, taking and evaluating action. Last is systematizing and learning. Rational.
One more minute.
Rational, sustainable social change community requires to empower community. PAR empowers community. And the implementation set up a PAR team and make a simple determination, data collection, data analysis. Timeline has been given, and the social research issue data may be biased due to the use of subjects in developing research about themselves, and the solution is given here. AR is known as time consuming, and ethical concern is about will be addressed by informed consent. By doing no harm, privacy will be ensured. Any ethical issue will be addressed as possible. In conclusion, literature review indicates that there is no correlation between school and between poverty and school achievement. Finally, findings will be enlighten Burundian decision makers and partners and push them into action. Thanks.
Excellent. That's all good, Masjad. So not only was that setting the bar high, you were also brave in volunteering to go first. So thank you very much. All right, so what we're gonna do, let's see, actually, if you can stop sharing your screen, or yeah, there we go. So unfortunately, we probably not gonna have time for questions right after each presentation, but we'll try to have some time at the end. So if you have a question on any one person's presentation, just hold on to that and we'll talk through at the end. Is there anyone else that would like to volunteer? Amar, yes. Do you want to share your screen or do you want me to pull up on my end?
Yeah,
Oh, perfect. We can see that very well.
This is my place which I selected for the research. My key question is why there is a low participation of rural women in local government planning and programming in Shibalaya municipality. I selected this village because this is the village is a very remote village of the Shibalaya municipality. This is one kind of excluded all mainstream streaming development. Even the ward and municipality offices are very far. 2 and 3 hours walk nearly take to reach the ward office, and about 4 or 5 hours to reach the Shivalaya municipality office. So the community name is Fulbari, Rokaya Jat. The Rokaya Jat is a local name, and ward number 6, Shivalaya Jadarkot, Karnali province. The Karnali province situated in the Himalaya range, northern part of Nepal, and the Karnali province is quite back than other provinces in Nepal. There are 7 provinces in Nepal, and the village has 100 households, and the population is 575, where 45% Dalit and 10% Kshetris, and 35% Janjati live in the village, and Dalit are so-called untouchable community, untouchable in the society. The slide describe shortly about the context. Already I have talked about the remoteness, and the main livelihood are agriculture and livestock of this place, and 60% of youth male seasonal migrate as a daily wages labor to India and abroad, and out of that the 50% women are migrant worker, and they are use of the firewood for the fuel, cooking food and extra, and wood for the shelter, and landslide and deforestation are the main issues of that community. uh, and 65% women are literate, and 65% women are illiterate, and 5% only have their own bank account, and 25 have own mobile phone. Only 3 women representing as a working committee member of municipal, and out of them no other have any role in the public committees and public places. And the partial system still prevail. Hunger, malnutrition, and gender and caste based discrimination, poverty are also the issue of this community, this place. Average working hours of women are 18 hours per day of that village. These are some pictures of the village women's literature review. Uh, I have used 3 from course book. I have 3 articles for the literature review, and research related books and articles 11. And I have put it here, the list of reference.
And about 1 more minute.
Sorry. For the significance of the research, I have put here Nepal's government's international laws, convention, human rights framework, constitutional provision, national policy, strategy and program, provincial and local government priority and commitment and plan, community demand and situation call to be addressed, and research to be used as tool for social change. Mainly, I explain in the proposal awareness raising tool, empowering and organizing the people, evidence for the policy advocacy, and research method. I use semi-structured interview, key informant interview, focus group discussion, participant observation, storytelling, and the timeline is research planning literature June data collection compiled July, right of August, workshop, stakeholder review, and final documentation produced September, and challenge are lockdown and COVID-19, rainy season, political instability, and time constraint of local community farming season, and the shape for the safeguard pre-mutual agreement will with a respondent consent from home for the storyteller key informant and commitment to apply the guideline and code of conduct. Key learnings are every step of research should be carefully designed for enabling the role of local people, setting questionnaire method, time management. Research should solely focus on the key question for the researcher. Researchers should, and then the trust building process has important role for the effective and participatory action research between the researcher and respondent community. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste. That was beautiful, Amar. Thank you. And I love the beauty of the visuals, complementing and coupling with the story that you were telling. That was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else that wants to volunteer to go next?
I can go next.
Okay, wait, who said
Lidette.
that? Lidette, okay, yes. Lidette, do you want to share your screen, or do you want me to pull
Sure.
up the presentation?
I think I should be able to share it.
Okay, wonderful. Oh, wait, Kristen, I see your hand. Kristen, did you have a question?
No, I had raised my hand for volunteers and I forgot to lower it, so I'm lowering it now.
You will. How about you? You will be on deck to go next. Okay, all yours, Lidette.
Okay. I'll start with the central research question, which is how the pandemic affected the growth and membership for Scouting, but focusing on the age groups between 6 and 17, which are from Cubs to Ventures in Addis Ababa, and how the lessons learned from this experience had changed the methods and plans for the future. I'm going to use this question to introduce the community I'm working with. So we'll take Scouting. To give a brief explanation, it's a youth movement that is led by the youth, but in support with adults, that focuses on contributing to the education of young people through a value system based on the Scout promise and law. And the aim is to better the world, helping youth become self-fulfilled individuals and play a constructive role in society. Just to mention, Ethiopia Scout Association classifies youth as people from age between 6 to 26. But we're only going to work with 6 to 17 for this research paper. Then we'll look at this age group and why we focused on this age group. I have 4 different reasons. One is the adult support that is required for these age groups. Anyone over 18 can do their own activities and plan for their own work, but under 17, they will need adult support and to be in large groups. It is a school-based scouting in Ethiopia, so for those in that age group, schools needed to be opened, and schools were the first to close after the first case was identified in Ethiopia, a second week after it was discovered. And it is an outdoor-indoor activity, but with large groups usually. So that's also one of the reasons that the activities could not be carried out. Lastly, over 75% of the members come from within this age group. So it's crucial to work on this group. Then why growth? Growth is one of the strategic priorities for the World Organization of the Scout Movement, which then trickles down to all national Scout organizations following Ethiopia. And the future, because COVID is one of the crises we have to deal with, but it is also a crisis. So we need to know how to be ready for events like this. So how we can use the outcome from this research is to give a background For the research methods, I discussed how participants are going to be selected. They're going to be selected in 3 different groups. The first group of participants will be scout leaders that have not done any sort of activity or training with their scouts throughout the shutdown. Second group would be scout leaders that have done some sort of activities, but only with the scouts that they already had and have not done any trainings to include new members. The third group would be scout leaders that have done both activities for scouts that they had and trainings for new members of some sort. So the last 2, but especially the third, will be used for future on how to learn how they manage this crisis, how they face this time, and how they manage to especially have new members come in, because it would be very difficult to convince parents for their safety and the precautions that would be taken, let alone just them having to go to be with people that they are not familiar with. So this would be used, like I said earlier, for crisis management for future, but also since growth is a center of our try and plan right now, how, if they could do it during COVID, how can we implement this even more so that we can have more members come in after we're out of this crisis? That'll be it. Thank you.
That was amazing, Lynette. Thank you. Especially, I appreciate too how you really pointed to what, while it's about COVID in this context, it's how that translates to the importance of, considering any multitude of crises that could be faced. And so how the work also transcends not, this particular issue, but can be relatable in so many different contexts. That was fantastic. Thank you. Let's go over to, I think I said Kristen would be next.
Yeah, and if you could share your screen with my presentation, that would be really great.
Yeah, let me pull yours up. Let's see. Oh, there's it. Okay.
Okay. Yes. So I really pared down my presentation here just because I knew we only had between 3 and 5 minutes. So I really wanted to focus in and give you guys a solid idea of my community and what I'm working with here. So basically, my project is recreation tourism impact and changing mindsets in rural West Virginia. So I apologize if I'm a little bit hoarse here. I'm suffering from some allergies, but to give you guys some background, the community I'm focusing on is the region of the Monongahela National Forest. This is specifically Pocahontas County, which I'm a local to, and it is extremely rural. Our population size is about 9 people per every square mile in the county. And if you convert that to kilometers, I saw that it was 9 people for every 2.5 square kilometers. So it is very rural. And the history of our town is that it was historically a logging town. And historically, we have removed resources from our area instead of creating them. And also, most of the resources were exported, and we never really saw a lot of economic growth from those resources being sent away, as you would say. So at the turn of the century, which is the 1900s, early 1900s, we had absolutely decimated all of our natural resources that we could use for profit. So we did a lot of mountaintop coal removal and logging. And the mountaintop coal removal is where they basically explode tops of the mountains off. They push it to the side and then they extract the coal and send it away. So after that happened, our population sizes decreased by, between 5 and 10-fold. We actually have a number of ghost towns here in Pocahontas County. So one really famous one is Cass Scenic Railroad. So this was a very, very popular logging town at the turn of the century in Pocahontas County. And then after everyone left, we were just left with these dozens and dozens and dozens of company houses with nobody living in them. Another really interesting part of our background is that Pocahontas County is 60% public land. It dominates the landscape and provides some of the most beautiful and unique forest experiences in the US. We are actually considered one of the only temperate rainforests on the East Coast. So getting into my research. So when all of these changes happened, it tended to change the mindsets of the locals and the generation after that and the generation after that to be fearful of the government, fearful of change, just because of the experiences that we had had in the past with this removal of natural resources. So my research is focusing in on changes in the economy. Are they welcomed or rejected by the locals? So we have recently been implementing some very large projects using our public land, and tourism in the area has actually increased between 200 and 500% in specific areas on the forest. So it's just really interesting how some of the community really accepts these changes and encourages this economic growth. And then the other half is very scared. The other half is a little bit apprehensive. And I actually have a quote here from one of the research papers that was conducted in the area recently. And it says, friendliness in locals seems to be case by case, dependent on the residents. Some are reluctant to promote the area as an attraction. It also says others talk negatively about tourists and are rude to the service they provide, even those who rely on tourists for their work, whether they realize it or not. But ultimately, the research did find that they were trending more friendly than not, which was very interesting. So I have here some of my research questions that I used to conduct my research with these locals. And it was, are you familiar with this growing recreation tourism industry? Do you believe it is negatively or positively affecting the community? And are you personally involved in an occupation or group which is dependent upon tourism in the area? So it's just been really interesting to me. And it could be a great economic growth and big business influence here in the area, which my actual current position would not probably exist without some of these new tourism industries coming in, because I am a business advisor specifically focusing in on businesses here in the Mountain National Forest that are created around recreation tourism. So yeah, it's a controversy here, but I hope you guys have learned a little bit about the community and my research questions. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Kristen. That was fantastic. And especially appreciating that too, of the, what you highlighted with that, the deep connection of the importance of the history and the background connected to where perceptions, and kind of worldviews and, kind of attitudes in this direction might have been shaped from, right? That they're not being manifested out of nowhere. So those connections become really important. All right, we have Maher. Are you volunteering next?
Yes, hi everyone. So I'll be happy to share also my presentation.
All right. So we're going to be doing 3 more today, so 2 more after Maher. So everyone else be thinking if you want to volunteer for today. So do you want to share, Gunjan, do you want to go after Maher?
Yes.
All right. Okay, Maher, do you want to share your screen?
Yes, please. Just a second. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, that looks great.
Good. So I'm starting. So This is my question research, and the question is, what are the motivations and the factors that enhance the local community's civic engagement in Sanhaja? How to increase participation in volunteer service, in particular for youth? So from this question, there are like some keywords, and you can see here, like for me, like the 5 keywords are motivation and factors, civic engagement, volunteer services, participation, and youth. And from the those words, it's like the main, let's say, the main focus for my research. And even for the interview, I focused on those different topics which are like serving my question. Yeah. So let's say the background and the community. So this is like Sanhaja, as you saw from the question, and it is my hometown. It's small one, like located in the eastern north of Tunisia, with about like 2,600 hectares, and the inhabitant back to the census in 2014, like the official one is like 8,233 people. You see, like they are divided into about like more than 50% for males, like 4,179, and females like 4,054. The majority of them, they are kids and youth, and that's why for me, like youth, why I'm asking about youth participation. If we talk about like the socio-economic situation here, like the inhabitants are divided into 70% like working and lower classes, 25% like middle class, and 5% are like the upper class. So this is will help me to understand like the context and how I can deal with the different people and what are their priorities. Also, despite my hometown is like just like 12 kilometers far from the capital, but we are having like some challenges, and mainly you can see here, for example, the only facilities that we have here, or the infrastructure, just like primary school, basic health care center, a small like football field, and the mosque. There is no any space or public space like for the community where to do activities, or like for mainly for kids and female, even like to enjoy some leisure activities besides like the let's say the forest or like the nature. Also, there are only 2 associations here. One of them is like the Scout group, and it's like it is working like for more than 2 decades here, and targeting like more than 150 girls and boys every year from different ages. And also we have like the football team, which is just for like 20 male adults to enjoy sport and to play football. So this research will create really social change in the community and also around the community. For example, here you can see I'm trying like to see to show you who will be benefiting from this like social research. First of all, like the institution, I mean here like by all kind of local authority or regional or national authority, even like the international authority. So they will know more about like the situation here and the community, and they will understand what are the different issues, and if they want to start working in the community. Also, this research, I did a lot of research, and I found out that this is like the first research focusing on my hometown, and no one before talked about like this kind of research here. So this will be helpful for the researcher and the student if they are going to find something or like to research about something. The other third part are all the NGOs on national level and local level. They can learn more about the community, and especially me and my Scout group will learn more. So all of us, I mean like the institution, researcher, and the NGOs will try to create really like the change in the community. For example, if the government, they are starting something, so they have enough information about like the factors and the motivation for youth, also for me or other NGOs if you are starting any kind of work here. Yeah. Thank you so much.
That was wonderful, Maha. Thank you. And I especially appreciate how you point to where really finding that niche where this hasn't been done before, right? And these questions haven't been asked. And so that becomes a really important launching point for that dialogue. And recognizing the process that this is just a start, right? That even this project, it's not going to be lead to all the answers, that it's also can maybe help reveal some of those other gaps as well. So that's fantastic to learn. Thank you, sir. Let's go over to Gunjan will go next. And there's one more person want to volunteer for today after Gunjan.
I can.
All right, so we'll have Gunjan and then Robert. Do you want to share your screen or would you like me to share? Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Okay.
I think if you can share from your side.
Okay, let me pull yours up. Oops. Okay, so what we can do is you can tell me when to move ahead. Okay, there we go. All right, all you.
Okay, so my research like the proposal is about experiences of wives left behind of seasonal migrants in the southern part of Rajasthan. Next one. Okay, so my focus is the communities, tribal rural women of state of southern Rajasthan that I'm currently living in. And my central research question is for women whose husbands seasonally migrate, what are the women's experiences and decision making for family planning, including fertility and contraception? Next. So I'll just give a background of my community. So Rajasthan is one of the largest state of India, and it has like diverse background in terms of topography. Most of the region is covered with mountain ranges, and tribal population dominates this southern part of Rajasthan. The main vocation of people is here agriculture and mining, but in recent years, job opportunity in mining was reduced because of laborers coming from other state who worked with much lower wages, um, and because of hilly terrain, unpredictable rains, and rapidly depleting water sources. Um, there is like no reliable source of income through agriculture, which has led to migration, high rate of migration from this part of area. Next. In terms of demographic details, I would say Rajasthan is like one of the um, state of India which have very low literacy rate, and female literacy rate in rural area is 35.5%, which is quite low as compared to other states. Though there are some evident changes in terms of family planning and contraception services from government, uh, such as like more reach of frontline health workers who are like giving out contraception, but then their focus is more on forced sterilization, and then there is n- no focus on choice and need based contraception. So next. So this is more about like literature is what I have find out. So first is about what is the density of the phenomenon. I mean, how the migration is occurring in this region. um, then a lot of studies have focused on like they have talked about how the women is affected in terms of increase in her like how how her workload has been increased because of migration. Then there are studies which have focused on health and education of children, credit management, and farming related tasks. But then the focus of this but then the contraception and the family planning and the decision making has not been explored much. um, and so this is much of like literature. I won't go in detail. Next. Okay, so these are the gaps in literature which I have found. First is like uh, the sexual and reproductive health of seasonal migrant workers and their wives have not been explored. Um, so a few studies in Nepal and some developing countries have focused on long-term migration pattern and sexual and reproductive health in at the destination level, uh, but not on the women or the wives of the migrant. And second gap is, these studies have focused entirely on, sexual and reproductive tract infection or HIV, which, completely ignores the part of contraception and family planning and choice based, the healthy sexual and reproductive behavior. So that was the gap. Next. So, what is the significance of this study? Is first is that the migrant and their families who are like left behind, they are vulnerable population who are neither part of welfare programs and nor the migration policies. So, for the study, the focus and the significance would be of two stage, I would say. First would be from public health perspective, where understanding this SRH, the sexual and reproductive needs, and these practices of migrant couples would be beneficial to inform and design migrant friendly SRHR policies. And at the local level, this would help us to understand what are the gaps in healthcare delivery system, um, which would be the it will act as a research tool, I would say, a social tool. So yeah, next.
About one more minute.
So for this, yes, so I will like follow the qualitative design because I want to explore the in-depth interviews. Recruitment of partners would be through one of the partner NGO, and tool would be in-depth interviews. Yeah, qualitative study. Next. This is the timeline for the planning and designing, data collection, analysis, monitoring, and dissemination of the data. So yeah, next. This would be anticipated challenges. One would be through this study, it might happen that the centralization of power that we discussed, but our focus would be more on like we understand that because of low literacy rate, it might be difficult to uh, communicate and share this research finding with the community, but we are like uh, we will seek help of infographics or other community based media to disseminate the research findings with the community. And another challenge could be looking at participant as data, but then our focus would be more on um, respecting them, and then mm, more of like helping them to so not looking them as data. So our like focus would be on that. Next. Okay, so these could be the ethical challenges that this process would not be extractive. We will ensure that we'll safeguard the participants. Considering the sensitivity around this topic, the interviewer will keep in mind that they will have to protect privacy and confidentiality of the respondents, and there will be complete anonymity of participants and the place of residence, because like we will going to disseminate the data. And yeah, next. Okay, so this is just the conclusion that we'll focus on this would be qualitative approach, in-depth interviews would be taken, and the focus would be on the process instead of the outcomes, and the community would be involved throughout the process. So, yeah. These are the references.
So thorough. I love it.
That was fantastic, Gunjan. Thank you. Especially, I like the in the way that you articulated those kind of challenges to anticipate, and thinking about what are some of the ways to mitigate some of those issues. And so thinking about being forward thinking as you're going into that research, for example, of how do we communicate this? What's going to be the presentation form that makes the most sense? It's going to be translatable and accessible to the community. And so it's really important thinking about those at the beginning and the forefront, as opposed to when you actually have the outcomes and looking to translate at that point. So that was really powerful. Thank you. All right, so we'll go over to Robert as the last presentation for today.
Good morning, y'all. Well, I just need to know how to start sharing my screen, get to my presentation. I just click on.
Yeah, so hit the share screen. It should be green. And I can also share on my end too.
I
have yours.
All of the clicking, otherwise it's just gonna stick in one area. So I just go into the green. Oh, I see it now. There we go. Share.
And then you should be able to click on the part you want to share. Yeah. Oh, perfect.
Okay, great.
All right.
Start my time.
Over to you.
Well, good morning. I want to introduce my community, and I titled it "No Landscape for a New Ecology: Long-Term Planning by Action Today." And that brings me right into who that community is. Now, these are rural communities, and I describe them in my recent proposal as populations which are surrounded by increasing urban environments, urban sprawl, and challenges that are ecological in nature due to climate change and many other factors, especially the scarcity of water in the West. This is the area, if y'all can see, that shows the entire U.S., but it shows it by regions, and I wanted to do that for the benefit also of my international partners here today. I'm coming from here. This is my ancestral region, I guess you could call it, and I moved down here. So I want to be forthright about changing circumstances about 1,400 miles away from the high plains I grew up in. So my plan is now more adapted to seeking out a model within Shelby County, Alabama, which would be right here. And essentially, this would be a scouting strategy at this point. My hope is to unveil any hidden needs and unforeseen potential for a wider scale model, which begins with raising awareness. It will be focused also on community-based action methods, which I hope to recruit and organize people who are interested in just even the basic ideas of working together and reclaiming some land. You mentioned in the other presentation, we mentioned ghost towns. Well, that is a strange thing about much of the land that I'm covering. Places that have gone without use, that used to be used by lots of animals, lots of wild animals, but there's still a lot of infrastructure there that is of no use to no one. And it's amazing that the experiment that led people from urban development to taking the land away from where it belonged to urban development for a few generations, 4 or 5 generations, and now back to a ghost town, boom and bust, exemplified completely. So that is not something that is very high in the consciousness of even the United States. It's something that's quaint. It's something that I want to open a dialogue about. It's something that I want to engage community members that have expertise in cattle raising, but also agricultural folks of different expertise, to rethink of these regions and to not reappropriate them, not re-inhabit them exactly, but to parcel by parcel, and this can start very small and will start very small, begin to engage in a kind of preparedness. And that preparedness is going to be something that is sort of subtle. In other words, first identifying the land that can be used for these purposes, and working and partnering with agencies in the community that have resources that we can tap into, like the Wildlife Service, like the Department of Interior, like Bureau of Land Management, county and township governments. So we begin long-term planning by looking at what we're doing. So by doing, we're planning, but without the consciousness of a big agenda looming over. I want to introduce this idea to these communities, and I want to do them in a way that we're working together, that I'm working with them, and again, the model repeats itself until it spreads like wildfire, but in a different way. So that's my hope. It's to seed, to sow these ideas, to raise awareness, to create the conditions that can lead to a better prepared world for a future that's in flux, that we cannot fathom, and to untap the potential for creating these new relationships, not only between agencies and people, but between man and land and animals, to re-engage them and to think them, because the models that we are living in today with large corporate operations, large agriculture operations cannot be sustained even in the near future. So I want to thank you for letting me expose you to that idea, and thank you again. Stop sharing.
Thank you, Robert. And I appreciate, especially, I know that you've worked through us to really kind of how to, hone in and then zoom back out and hone in. And I think what, where you've landed is really powerful place of how to connect the local also to a broader context, right? And so while the research might be happening in this one place, it's thinking about sometimes, and it's not always the case, maybe you stay local, but in a lot of cases you can connect that to then how is it scalable? How does this translate to also relate to other communities, contexts, and to what they might be looking towards in the future. And so looking at kind of that scalability can be really important. I appreciate you introducing that in. So that was fantastic, y'all. It raised, you certainly set the bar high for everyone else that is going to be going in next week. I know we only have a few minutes left. I do want to share a couple of things here that, so let me go back. So keep in mind, of course, if you didn't go today, you'll obviously be going next Thursday. If you went today, please come next Thursday. That is going to be our last class. And about the reason we did more today is about half the class will be the presentations, and then we'll be having some kind of the final discussion and wrap up and going through kind of the finishing parts for the course. And so I want you to keep in mind, I'm going to share real quick here. So if you haven't yet submitted I have most of the visuals for the presentations. If you haven't submitted your visual yet on Moodle, please do so. And just because it's really helpful for me to have also to kind of go back and look through. And so please get those up, as well as if anyone hasn't gotten your project proposal submitted on Moodle yet, please do that as soon as possible. And to note that you have until our class next Thursday, you'll be able to make up any kind of missing assignments. And then the other reminder is for let me actually share my screen here. So for the Learning e-portfolio, so remembering that this is the last assignment for the course, and this is what I'm asking you to be submitting by next Monday. And so this is essentially what this does. And I know future generations, appreciates doing this to try to kind of be able to translate a lot of your work and pull it all together. And so compiling kind of your portfolio folder, really what you're doing is almost everything that you've already done. And I just want you to bring it together into one folder to be able to show, okay, this is kind of the package of the material that I've done for the course. And so you're bringing together all of these different components. So you're setting your intention, your transect walk, the interview analysis, your proposal, the consent form, guidelines of principles, your visual. So it's all kind of all of that material outside of the discussion forums that you've produced for the course. The one additional component of this is the 2-page summary reflecting on what you learned about social research methods throughout this course. And up here, under this assignment information, that outlines what I'm asking you to cover in this 2-page summary. Okay, so that's going to be kind of the last piece to be getting in. And so let me stop sharing if there are any questions on your Learning ePortfolio.
So there's
Okay. Yeah.
there's
Oh,
one assignment, which is the summary. Then
so that's the only additional piece that like you won't have produced yet. So the rest of it is stuff you've already done for the course, and now I'm asking you to package it together. And then the only additional piece is that 2-page summary. Yeah, so the rest is it's just bringing it together. And you know, they found, and actually, and I've appreciated this kind of technique, because often, like even throughout the course, you look at things very separate, kind of and isolated from each other. So this is just a way to kind of pull together in one package. Here's everything you've produced for the course, and then you can now actually use that to translate much more readily into the kind of skills that you can apply in your everyday work as well. Because a lot of things, it's all about how do you translate what you're doing in the context of a course into the context of, say, skills for your job, and work with your communities and community organizing, right, and applied development. And so how to bring that together is helpful to then being able to kind of see it and hold it together, to then be able to make those connections, to be able to translate more into your everyday work. And so the only additional piece that I'm asking you to compose for this is that 2-page summary. So any other questions on that part of it?
Sorry, is that what you want us to add on Mahara, or do you want us to put it in a folder and put it on Moodle?
So that's a great question. And I would say whatever approach is going to work better for you. I know some folks, it's been a little harder on, like, Mahara hasn't been working as well. So if I don't want this to be a struggle at all, like technology wise. So if it works to do it on Mahara, that's great. And you can go for it. If for some reason it's not working well, then you're certainly welcome to put it in a folder, and then upload that onto Moodle. And if it's a struggle at all to get it onto Moodle, you can send it to me directly. You know, so Mahara is a great option. I know it hasn't been always working across the board. And so, you know, if you're able to use it, great, but I don't want anyone to waste time just trying to get stuff on there. You know, so if it's not working well, you can try Moodle. And if for some reason that's not working, to get it packaged together, then you can send it to me directly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. Any other questions? Okay, so just be getting the final materials in, y'all, and I'm excited for next week's presentations. And this was fantastic today. It's morning here, so you've all started my day off really well. So thank you for that. And just please stay well and healthy, everybody. And just if questions are kind of popping up over the coming few days or anything as you're getting things finalized, please do reach out. Okay. All right. Be well, everyone. Take care.
Goodbye.